Hi guys, and welcome to lesson number 7. And our robot already looks super awesome, but today we will learn how to add even more details and add decals to our object to make it look even more interesting. So, let's get started. Adding details is super easy in Substance Painter, and you already know how to use different alphas with the masks as we used it last lesson erasing some of the dirt right here. But let's quickly go through it all. First, I want to quickly fix the mess we left last time. So I'm going to rename this layer Dirt Heavy and create a new folder, rename it Dirt, and I'll put both of them inside this folder. Make sure your Dirt Heavy is on top of Dirt Light so it doesn't cover it up. Okay, close down the folder. And now let's get back to our decals. So first, let's create a new folder and name it Decals. Select the folder and quickly create a new paint layer. So here, as you can see, we have brush properties, paints layer properties. So first of all, brush size, the flow of the brush, stroke opacity, and then even lower we have alpha selection, where you can choose any alpha you want from the library. And a bit lower we have our base color, metalness, roughness, just like a normal materials menu. So for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to take, say, this alpha right here. I'm going to select a different color, let's say black. Going to increase a little metalness, maybe decrease the roughness. I'm going to turn off normal and height, and I can paint on the details. But the better way I like to use painting decals is by creating a fill layer instead of a paint layer. So let's turn off our paint layer we created before and give it a black mask. Now, as you can see, if I select our black mask, I have the same menu as before. I can choose my alpha I want to paint. And as you can see, the color of it is white. But I can put a lot of details here and then go back to our fill layer here and just change the color. And if I turn this off and go back to our paint layer, paint something, and if I want to change the color, let's say to red, as you can see, it doesn't change color. And if I paint again, then it's with a different color. So that's the difference between having details painted in a paint layer or a fill layer. Okay, so now you know how to paint details on using alphas. But now let's add some hard surface decals using normals. I'm going to turn off both of these layers, and in our decals folder, I'm going to create a new paint layer. Put it inside this layer. I'm going to rename it to hard surface. Okay, and now I'm going to deselect our color, metal, rough, and height options and only leave the normal one. And if I go here to Libraries and into our Texture tab right here, you can see we have all these different kinds of normal textures, which can add details. So let's select this one for an example. And I'm going to drag it into our normal. And as you can see, I can already paint the normal, but it's painting using the alpha we selected before. So I'm just going to scroll up in our Properties tab and just delete the alpha. So now, as you can see, I paint the whole texture that I selected. We can choose another one, let's say this one, put it into normal, and you can see adds the detail. I'm going to redo these. And now if we look at our reference image, you can see we have these air vent looking things on the sides. And we have those on both sides, so we can add symmetry to our object. And now if I paint something, you can see we painted on both sides, symmetrical. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit in our texture tab right here. I'm going to look for the vent cap's normal texture. And I'm going to drag it in. And if I paint it on, and as you can see, it's super small. So what I'm going to do is just increase the size. If I want a stronger effect using the normal texture, I can click a few times to increase the intensity of the normal. And I'm going to try to align these. All right, so as you can see, we added that on both sides. Now I can see we have some handle-looking things. So I'm going to turn off the symmetry and look for the handle type of normal texture. Maybe it's up there. And it's called handle rectangle. I want to drag it in, and I'm going to put one on this side. Click it a few times. Then I'm going to rotate it 180. And add it on the other side as well. Click it a few times. Next, we have this kind of door-looking thing. All right, I'm going to fast forward this part so you can try it yourself. And I'll see you then. All right, and I can go to Erase Tool and just erase the texture where I don't want it. And this time I painted on the lens of our robot, and I'm just erasing that. Okay, now let's say I want something similar to here to have like a panel connection. So I'm going to look for a bevel. And as you can see, we have these different kinds of textures. And I'm going to use a bevel line. Go back to your paintbrush and drag in your bevel line. And as you can see, it adds this large-looking bevel line. And you can change the settings of your texture since it's procedural. Line length, bevel thickness. So I'm going to leave line length, but I'm going to decrease the bevel thickness. And as you can see, we are getting way better results now. And it's just a matter of aligning. Okay, so we added a line at the bottom, and now I want to add some lines up here to make it look like some kind of engravings or panels added one on another. So I'm going to select Bevel Circle, and you already know the process of putting on bevel lines, so I'm going to fast forward this part too, and I'll see you at the end. Now I want to add some hexagonal screws. And you can do that by deleting the bevel word in the search bar and look for screw hexagonal. Select the brush, drag it into normal, reduce the size to around 4, and now I can add these bolts where I want to. All right, so as you can see, we added a lot of details this time to our object, and it already looks so amazing. There's one thing we can do to make these creases look even more realistic, and you can do that by manipulating the ambient occlusion map. First, you go to Texture Set Settings, scroll down a little bit, and you can see we have these channels right here. So we need to click Add. And the first one is ambient occlusion. So now when we go to our Material Properties tab, we can see we have this ambient occlusion added. But to add more detail to your painted layer, you have to go to Effects and add a filter. And for the filter, we're going to use a filter called Height Blend Ambient Occlusion. Select it. And since we were using normal map and not height, in the Channel Source tab, we need to select Normal. And as you can see, we already have this nice shadowing on our normals right there. So you can enhance that even more with your settings here, but I'm not going to mess around with that right now. 0.05 is enough. And the last thing I want to show you today is how to add custom stickers to your object. So I'm going to delete these folders I don't need. I'm going to leave the decals folder on. I'm just going to minimize it. And then create a new fill layer. I'm going to deselect everything else, select only base color. Now I need to import my textures or my stickers, and you can do that simply by dragging in the ones you want. And they're supposed to pop up this window where you just select a texture and import your resources to the current session, or your library, your assets, whatever. So I'm going to use current session, import, and as you can see, I already have imported mine. So I'm going to simply drag it into my base color, just drag it in. Now for the UV wrap, I need to select None. And for UV projection, I want to do planar projection. And now, if I press W, it's a move tool. If I press E, it's a rotate tool. And if I press R, it's a scale tool. So I'm going to scale it down. Press W to move. Now again, let's scale it down. And as you can see, I can add a custom sticker to my object. Now I need to rotate it 180 degrees so it's facing the right way. And the easier way to adjust the position of your sticker on the object is to select the Surface tool, and it automatically matches the surface I'm trying to put this sticker on. And it adds so much more detail to our object. I'm going to rename this one to Sticker Fire, so I know what it is. And I'm going to drag it underneath the dirt folder so the dirt from everything else gets on top of our sticker. All right. So as you can see, our robot looks amazing now. And that's going to be it for this lesson. And in the next one, we're going to learn how to render it out, and I'll see you there. Bye-bye.